Hi, I'm Kerrie Penny, and on this episode of Secret Heart Broadcasting, I'll be speaking with Heather Dyer. Heather is the co-host and co-creator of the Three Kitchens podcast. She's also a mom, a gardener, a former communications professional who has, at a certain point in her life, decided she's going to do what she wants to do, even if it means not doing it perfectly. So if you're a person like me who wrestles with the need to be perfect, I think this episode's for you. In this kind of vibrating, broadcasting who you are, I guess, and maybe that's like Secret Heart Broadcasting. Maybe that's what this is for me. But you started Three Kitchens podcast. Can you talk a little bit about that? And also, you started it when you had two young children. You were saying, you didn't have your mom to say, "Hey, help me. How does this go?" And so you were in it. And then you thought, I think I'd like to start a podcast that will become very successful.
Well, maybe we're still waiting for the success. Depends how you define it. But
season 5.
We're about to start season 6, actually. We wrapped up season 5 in the spring. So the Three Kitchens podcast started during the pandemic when everybody was sort of staying home. And some of my friends and I, we were used to hang out on the schoolyard because we met because our kids were in school together. And so we would hang out, the kids would play in playground and we would all chit chat. We were the moms at school and we started hanging out outside of that. And so anyway, during kind of lockdown, we would FaceTime at around the time when we were all in our kitchens prepping for dinner. And, we would talk about, what are you making? What's for dinner over there? And, I've never made that before. How do you make it? And we would have these discussions about dinner and, of course, life in general and the kids and homeschooling because the kids were doing their online school. And, it was just sort of that weird time that it's kind of a funny thing that we all have this collective memory of that weird time. And this was how we connected because we were used to seeing each other all the time and missed talking. And so we would just chat over FaceTime. And somebody, I don't remember where it came from, I think it was somebody's husband, said, well, if you're talking about this all the time anyway, why don't you build a podcast and put it out there? Because maybe other people want to hear about what you're cooking, or maybe they're at home wondering what should I cook? And so we took that idea and thought, why not? We're at home. We have some time. Why not do that? And I wasn't working like a job at the time. So that made it easier for me to juggle the things. And I guess in terms of like having time for it, I'm fortunate that I have healthy kids,
Yes.
who are able to amuse themselves. They don't need constant attention. It could certainly be more challenging. So I'm lucky in that way. So it just rolled from there. So we try recipes and we talk about them on the podcast. And we started with 3 hosts. Over time, it's gone down to 2. So we're still called Three Kitchens, but there's only 2 of us. That's like the number one question we get from people. Why is it called Three Kitchens?
Where's the third kitchen? Well, but it's the viewer, really, right? That's what I think.
Yeah, I know some people have said that, and we were like, that makes sense. So it's either the listener/viewer, or it's we have guests. Like when you came and you were sort of our co-host for an episode, and we have guest experts too who come on and teach us about aspects of food production or cooking or what have you, all kinds of different things. It's what we call a hardcore hobby because it, as you know, is a lot of work. And the learning curve was like, not a curve, just a climb. It was
like a rocket trajectory.
Yes. And even still, I feel like we're constantly having to learn something new or adapt or change. And and we have all these ideas too about things we want to do. And so we have to figure out, well, if I want to do a series like this and it's different from what we typically do, what does that look like? How do we set it up? Will anybody want to listen to that?
There's that question, right? Will anyone want to listen to that? Like at some point, I mean, I know for me with Secret Heart, I just thought, well, I want to I'm curious about these women and what they know. So I had to, maybe that comes back to your point about just not caring. But it's like, well, I'm curious. And if one person is interested, maybe that's success. I had to, this idea of metrics and, growing and like the pressure of that, I had to let it go because it was just, I wouldn't have even begun if I had had to carry all that expectation. It's just like, I'm going to start a little thing, put it out there and we'll see.
Yes, exactly. And maybe it goes back to my mom's lesson of you don't need to be perfect. Your painting doesn't need to be perfect. Just try. And this is how we approach the podcast. We know it's not perfect. We know, we're never going to be top of the charts or whatever. Like we're just an independent show, but people are listening. People all over the world, in fact, are listening. And so it's like, wow, somebody actually is interested in what two regular old home cooks. Speaking for myself, I'm not any amazing cook or baker. I'm just not, and that's fine. The whole point of it is to show that you as the listener or viewer can listen to me talk about my experience trying something. Just trying something, and if it fails, I'm going to be honest and tell you that it failed, and in the end, I didn't really like it, or my kids wouldn't eat it, or whatever. But that's not the point of it. The point of it is to try. The point is to have fun and experiment and learn. And maybe you do find out you're really awesome at it. My co-host, Erin Walker, she is a much better cook and baker. She's a scientist. So she has the brain that approaches things very methodically. And she's really good at that. Whereas I'm like... She always says I fly by the seat of my pants. I'm always winging it. So, that's good or bad. It's not great with baking, but it can be good with cooking. So, sometimes that works out for me and sometimes it doesn't. Like the whole point is that we are home cooks. We're not celebrity chefs. We're not professional trained cooks, which is a lot of in the foodie space. A lot of people are chefs or bakers.
So home cooks would be how you describe yourself.
Yeah, we're home cooks and we're just trying stuff the way a home cook would with a home kitchen, with the stuff you've got, with access to regular ingredients, that kind of stuff. And
has it made your kids more adventurous eaters? Are they adventurous eaters? Will they try whatever you make and give you honest feedback?
Yes. Yes, and yes. They are very adventurous eaters, actually. Knock on wood, haven't really been dealing with picky eaters. That I think they've always kind of been that way. One was a little picky for a little while, but generally they'll at least try everything. And they think I'm a fantastic cook. So that's success, I guess, right? They don't know any different, really.
Well, and maybe they'll cook. Like one thing I'm noticing with my daughter, she's moved out on her own now and is living in a different city and having to fend for herself. And she knows some basic things. So I'm thinking, oh, well, somewhere along the way, something rubbed off. She was also she would try anything. She didn't always like everything. And there was a time maybe in junior high where, no one else brought this for their lunch and that's weird. And, stop feeding me weird things. But overall, I think she's a curious eater. She likes food and she can make enough things that she can survive in the world. And I feel like, well done.
Yes, that's awesome. And I think having boys, not to be stereotypical about it, but, my husband doesn't cook, doesn't really know how to cook, even though he's a firefighter and people think firefighters have some innate ability to cook. They don't, not this one. But I want my boys to leave home knowing how to cook or at least having the basic skills and not being afraid to try to learn. Mm-hmm. I want them to have those skills so that they're not eating ramen noodles. One of them would live on ramen noodles, to be honest, but hopefully by the time he's an adult, he's moved on.
Yeah, because good food is so related to good health, I think. Thanks for listening. If you like the show, please tell your friends.